Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is Bobby at Dig Coding, and if this is the first time to our channel, then please do not forget to subscribe so you can be notified every time we have a new video. So this video is the 20th in the Building and Launching a Real Django website series. And if you've been following along, then you'll know that we've built a website, it's online for the world to see, it looks terrible. So we've downloaded some HTML templates and some CSS and JavaScript from a site online, and now we're working through the process of stringing it all together so our back end is rendered on a web page and it looks beautiful. So let's look at my screen. What we need to start off by doing is firing up our virtual environment. So work on did demo. We'd have done this probably 20 or 30 times already. Python manage.py, and we'll run a server and we'll just have a look at what it looks like so far. Oh, spelled that wrong. Oh no, I haven't. Well done. So let's open up a browser. I've already got an incognito browser open, so just visit localhost. You can go to 127.0.0.1, but let's look at localhost. So you can see here that this is the website with some very basic images. It looks okay. This is in the development server, by the way. If you go to did demo online, it currently in April 2021 is just an image that says coming soon. It looks terrible. So this is the template that we're looking to incorporate into our project. So I've got all these elements here, great. And what we did in the last couple of videos is we started breaking down these HTML documents and making partials and recycling that code so we can use in numerous different templates. Today, we're going to start looking at the header, which contains the navigation, which is this bit at the top here. You've got the home shop, portfolio, blog pages elements, and all of this gumph up here, right? So that's the header element. And what we're also going to look at is the footer element. So most websites these days will have a footer. It's where you have links to things like privacy policy, terms of service, refund policy, that kind of stuff, and the you've got the copyright bit at the bottom here as well, socials, a few images. So we're going to look at those elements today and get them tip top. So let's jump straight into the code. We've already got the CMD working, okay? So let's go into Sublime Text, and if we go into our base initially, we'll scroll down. Remember, we left the preloader in because that will appear, anything that appears in every single one of your pages, such as a navigation, such as a preloader, such as a pop-up or a model, a bootstrap model, for instance. Have that in your base HTML because that stops the need of repeating yourself. So we'll keep that in there, the preloader. So we're going to be looking at the header and we're going to be looking at the footer, both of which are located in the base HTML. So header, let's chop away at this first and foremost. What have we got? We've got a logo main and a logo light. So what we need to do is, do you know what we'll do first? We'll start with the navigation. So remember when we bought this template and we were opening up the HTML documents in the zip, in the directory that we downloaded. Now each of the HTML documents were independent of one another, but they were navigating to other documents within the directory. That's still happening. So we've got here a href. So it's an A element, an A tag, with a href of index.html. So what we need to do, and if you look down here, we've got a list with an index-creative-agency-1. So what that's doing is when somebody clicks on that link on the website, that would then redirect them and essentially open up a different HTML document. We don't want to do that because we're using Django and we're using views and URL patterns. So we can use a template tag called URL to redirect users to wherever they want to go, whatever they're clicking on. So this here, index.html, what we can do there is we can, because anything with index.html, that's essentially taking the user back to a home page or an index page, right? So we can Control H and replace all. And we'll replace index.html with a template tag called URL. Just close it off, I always forget to do it. You want a couple of speech marks in there, and we will call it, make sure the speech marks are not the same as the ones that are in the href because it won't work. And we want to send this to, if you remember, we've got main and we call this home. replace all. So now, anyone that clicks on that link, that logo, will take them back to home. Now that should work in our development server because we've got this template in, we've got this same template for about, contact, and so on and so forth. So we'll test that in a second or two. And we would have done, in fact, let's do that now. We've got the server up and running. Let's go in the browser and should work. There we go, there's the loader. And we go to /about. If we now click on the logo that we have here, this is what we're just playing around with. We click that, it should now take us back. If you see, it's taking us back to the home page. So it works. The URL template tag works straight off the bat. So that's that. Then hang on, let's open up the browser again. Then what we've got is the nav bar at the top here. Now that will be responsive. This is what it looks like on the main screen. But if you open up your inspection panel, you've got a little icon here. This is on a Windows machine, by the way, and using Chrome as a browser. If you click on this, it will allow you to see what it looks like in different screen sizes, right? So if we narrow it down to the size of about a mobile phone, you can see that the nav bar now changes. So this is what the CSS does in the background. So, and this is what they call a responsive HTML template. It means that it changes the shape, design, and the look and the feel of a website depending on the device that you're looking at it from. So if we click on this now, it'll then come up with a different menu, right? So, and click on the plus button, it'll have all of those drop downs that we had in the top nav bar when we were looking on a desktop view. So home, we've got creative, business, corporate, portfolio, shop, and services. So, okay, that's enough of me waffling on. All we need on this top bar, we don't need a drop down list, we just need a string that says home. We don't need a drop down list, so we can remove all of that. Shop, we don't need that, that needs to be about. The idea of this drop down list, it gives you an example of what you can actually have in your final website. So you can have a drop down list for one of your URLs. So maybe you could have a URL called media, and under that media you could have blogs, you could have YouTube channel, you could have newsfeed, and they could be all appearing in this drop down. So we're going to have home, about, contact, and media. That's what we're going to have at the top here. No need for drop down, so we can delete most of that. Don't forget the code, the HTML code that generates these drop downs. That's still in the template you've downloaded, so deleting them from the HTML, base HTML, it's not like you've lost that code forever, so don't worry about that. And what we'll do, we'll then look at the socials, and we'll probably remove the search functionality for now and bring it back a little bit later in the project. So let's go back in the Sublime Text. So what have we got? We've got a list. All of these are lists. So that's home. So I need to work out what these are myself first. So that's has a sub menu. All of them have got sub menus. It's a bit of a pain. So what happens if I remove the class has sub menu? I have a funny feeling that will remove. Open up the browser, refresh. Okay, so essentially that class that just takes all of that list that sits underneath home, and it then renders it into this nice little box here, a nice little drop down. So by moving that class, it's actually just removed that nice pre-drop down. So okay, let's add that back. We don't need that. Open up the list. It looks like we can just remove the whole UL element, and if we remove this, we'll keep it as a list. href, so a tag, we'll get that in as a URL again. This is going to be main home, home. So anyone who clicks it will be redirected to the home URL pattern. And let's see what that looks like. So this is suck it and see really. I don't know what template you've downloaded from the website, let's say theme forest. I don't know which one you've downloaded. So I don't know how the HTML documents are made up. I don't know how they've built those documents. I don't know how the CSS works. So even when I download a template, I need to kind of fathom out exactly how it's structured, how to see, straight away I was looking at that class has drop down. Well, that's doing something in CSS. So I removed it, it didn't work. So I'm just removing the whole drop down and to see what that does. So if we now refresh, there you go, it's got nothing at all. So that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to just replicate that now and do exactly the same for about, media and contact. And all of this here, we can just remove that. We don't want any of that. And we can just change this to about, change this to media, and change this to contact. Change the URL template tags so it will be redirected to the right place. If you do this wrong and refresh the browser, Django will tell you that you've done it wrong, because if it cannot find the URL pattern that you're adding to the URL template tag, it will just come up with the yellow and white error screen, especially if you're in debug mode, that is, and in development. And if you know me by now, you'll realise that I do a lot of typos. So I'm at one with the error screen. Okay, that is the top nav done. So we'll look what that looks like. Home, about, media, contact. That'll bring a little pop in from the side. What does that look like? We do an inspection. There's probably another menu we need to address, which will have oh no, it's the same one. Some templates will have two separate navs, so they'll have one nav for the top nav on a big screen, and they'll have a secondary one for a mobile nav, and you'll have to just do the two. But you'll have to work that out for yourselves when you're looking at your own templates. So what we've done the top nav now, it looks brilliant. We've got home, about, media and contact, and now if you look down here, we've got another section. If you remember when we looked at the browser, we had three icons. We had one for Facebook, one for Twitter, one for Pinterest. Now I don't have any of those socials currently for Did Coding or Did Demo, but I do have a YouTube. Now if you are a developer or if you're new to this, I'll talk about it anyway. Whenever you see FA-Facebook in a HTML document, what they're normally referring to is something called font awesome. So I'll open up my browser, I've just Googled it. I'll have the link in the description below actually. But font awesome, if you go to fontawesome.com, it has a whole bunch of icons that you can just incorporate into your website, and then you reference those icons using the code like what we just looked at, which is FA-Facebook. But on here, if you do YouTube, this one will be FA-YouTube, then you've got YouTube-square. So we're going to use YouTube in here, so we'll disregard the Facebook, we'll add YouTube. And what we'll also do is, so what we need to do, we now need a href here, and we will add, just copy and paste the HTTPS code that you can get from YouTube. And the difference being on this though, if all you have is just href in an A tag, it will change your browser location to that location. So it will take them off your website and take them to YouTube. Now that might be what you want for your user journey. However, I don't want to take them to YouTube and take them off my website. I just want to open up a new browser and take them to YouTube. So they're still on my website, but they're also on YouTube. And how you do that is you use something called target equals, and it's underscore blank. We'll save that and test it quickly. So let's go in the browser, go back into Did Demo, just refresh quickly. Hopefully a little YouTube icon will appear. There we go, YouTube, great. So if I click that now, it should open up a new browser. There we have it, and it takes you straight through to Did Coding. Brilliant, that's exactly what we wanted. So let's go back to Did Demo. Open up Sublime again, so we're nearly there on the top of the header. We've then got a search icon, don't want that. And then I've then got an aside menu, and we've got the button. I don't want any of those because we'll add them later if we need them. It's a nice to have, but at this present moment in time we don't need it. So let's update that So now we've just got the home, about, media and contact, and we've got a little YouTube honest lonesome in the top right of the screen here, but that's fine, that's absolutely fine. I can add to that later. We have though got a logo for a different company, so let's sort that. So we've already got static files in our project, so we're in main currently, but down here we've got static, and within static we've got a directory called branding. Close assets, there we go, branding, and in that we've got GIFs, we've got JPEGs, MP4, PNGs, and we've got the PNG lights. We've got the coloured one and the light version, which is great because in this HTML document they're looking for a main, so that'll be the coloured version, and then a light version. So what we'll do, we'll change the SRC and the image tag to, it's already looking for a logo that is in the assets pulled from the template. So we'll change that now so it's picking up from our branding directory to the PNG files. So let's go and change that to branding slash, what have we got, did underscore logo dot PNG. That's what we want. And the other one is, and is this light? Yeah, light dot save. Is that it? Yeah, bug off. Okay, let's look at the screen. It's going to look ugly because the files themselves are huge, so we might have to add some CSS. Yeah, there you go. So it's actually, the file is a lot bigger than that, but and there must be some CSS in here that's stopping the logo from, so there's a max size. So let's shrink that down a little bit, maybe 150 pixels. So if we go into, we won't add it to the CSS, we'll add it directly to the image. So let's go to, it's got alt logo. You can change that actually. Let's call that did demo. We'll call that logo, and then we'll do the same here. Did demo logo, and in the SRC we will now add style equals, and within that we want width, and we'll have 150 pixels. Again, it's a suck it and see, because I don't know what 150 pixels is going to look like on this template. I also don't know what it's going to look like when it's rendered on a mobile phone or a different device. So let's have a little play, save, and refresh. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. Let's look what it's, well, let's have a look and see what it looks like on a, okay, that's not looking too hot on a, it's because what it's pulling through, that's the light version. So, slider, what have we got? So, let's look at the element, just click on that. Yeah, that's pulling through the light version. So, actually, what we'll need is that we'll have the same one on both. We don't need to. So, again, you need to test all of this out, because this is what people are going to see when they're visiting the website. So, we'll just change that, we've saved it, we'll refresh it. And yeah, that doesn't look too shabby, to be fair. What we have, we're missing a icon at the top here. That must be the drop down for the mobile device. So we'll go back in here, scroll down to where we, yeah, there we go. I reckon it's this bottom one. Save. There we have it. Click on that. Happy days. That is exactly what we wanted to see. But we've opened it up and we've got this here, different logo. So now we need to find that one, find that exactly where that is. So it's off canvas header. So if we go in here, Control F, off canvas, inner header, there we go. And we've got a logo here. So if we, we'll just change this to did demo logo, and we will change this PNG file here to branding slash did logo dot PNG. If you remember, we now need to add some style, and it was width, was it 150 px? Do you know what, let's go with 100. Let's see what the other ones look like at 100 as well. It was still a little bit big for my liking. Save, let's go back into the browser, See what it looks like on a mobile device. Okay, that's more, yeah, that's more in keeping with the website itself. It looks good. Click on there. That looks good. Let's just close down the inspection panel. And this is the actual website stuff. Right, now we're cooking on gas. That looks good. I'm quite happy with that. I'd say that we can bookend the header and start looking at the footer now. What we've got is this footer here. There are different varieties or variations, should I say, of the footer in the templates that you buy generally. You know, you might have a light one, a dark one, a coloured one. You might have one with 4 sections, another one with 2, and so on and so on and so forth. I like this one. I'm not going to dig around in the templates and find a better one. This is the one I'm going to run with. So, but I would suggest that you look through your templates and really hone in on the one that you like. I'm just going to go with this one. It is a demonstration after all. So let's go into our base HTML again. We have finished our header and we're now looking at the footer. So I've closed this off. Remember, in these templates, the documentation is normally good and sections are commented out and named. This says start footer area wrapper, end footer area wrapper. Okay, so everything for that footer is within that element. So we are creative agency. I'm just going to change that to we love to code. Okay, what we're going to do, we're not going to worry about content just yet. Instead, we're going to replace this content with a template tag called lorem, which is, I've just copied one, drop it in there. So what it does, it enables you to add some lorem ipsum random text to your website using Django template tags rather than just using the text that comes from the template. And what this is doing, this is putting two random words. And if you see here where we did have some text, let it refresh, it's now doing 2 random words. So if we go back into the template, we can put 15, and this just allows you to mess around and see what your template will look like with certain amounts of text. There you go. So that's all we're going to do at this point in time. We'll start adding content at a later date, or I'll probably do that off camera because my content, you don't need to see what I'm going to put. And underneath that text, we've then got some socials. Let's fix them up. In fact, let's go to the header. I'll just take the one I did here for YouTube. So I've got an I tag here, sorry, an A tag with a link to YouTube with the Font Awesome YouTube icon. I think that's all we're going to need for now. Keep saving, keep going back to your browser, just having a look at what things look like. That I'll probably change that icon from Font Awesome. It's a bit small, you can't really make out what it is, but have a look at Font Awesome, select the ones you want, add them. And then we've got company in this footer. So we've then got, so this section here, this part of the HTML document has got this class here, so column medium 6, column large 3. So on a large browser, it dissects the page down into, it's always 12. So it dissects the first chunk into 3. So it's 1/4 of the page is section 1, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, they're the 3s. If it's a medium sized screen, then it's 6. So it'll be half the screen, half the screen, half the screen, and half the screen. That can be the basis of another tutorial another time. So they're the icons. Then we've got company. So we've got a link here, about me, Control H. We'll change that to, using the URL template tag, to about, replace all, and we'll change that to about, and then all I need, I'll just copy that down and add one for media and add one for contact. To be honest, I can probably add one for home as well. So contacts. Yeah, let's add one for home as well. This in the footer, this is where you generally put your privacy policy and things like that. So we will change these later, but another thing, whilst I'm thinking about it, some of your templates that you download, you'll notice that will have a class in the navigation or in the footer, actually in any of the templates, as come to think of it, where it will say something like active or is active, and it will use CSS to then change the style of that button, link, or whatever it is to highlight the fact that you're on that page. This template doesn't have it, so I haven't got to go down that road. But if you do have a template that does have that, then just use a simple if template tag. So if URL is X, then use this class. If not, use the other one. In the next tutorial, I might walk through that quickly. I'm not going to go through it in this one because the video is already going on quite a long time. So that's company. They're the links. We've got home, about, media, and contact. We've then got recent post. Yeah, so that would be to do with your blog. We don't necessarily need that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove that. And now I'm going to break the, so where it says 3, I'm going to change this to 4. So now rather than the page, the 12 columns being broken down into 3s, we're breaking them down into 4. So it's 1/3. So it's 1/3 of the page. So we'll keep this as 4. To be honest, we might as well change, no we won't, we'll keep that as 6. We'll change this to 4. And these are just some images. What I will do, I'm going to keep them in there. I'm going to keep them in there for now because what I'll do, I will have a link to the 4 most recent thumbnails for the videos I'm putting on YouTube. So in a later video when I'm playing around, or if you're still watching at that point, I'll add some code to the back end to fire 4 URLs, image URLs, into the context for each of my pages so that I can actually gain access to these 4 images or 4 thumbnails and put them into the footer on every single page. But for the time being, I'm going to leave it as it is because the href will be dynamic. So that will be, just thinking about it, it'll probably be something like media / then it'll be YouTube name, so title, and so that'll be the URL. So, and that will be pulled off the model that we haven't built yet. So the href can stay as it is for now. I'm not too worried about that. And the image itself, that will be saved as an image field to a model that we haven't built yet. So we'll leave it as it is. We don't need to change that. So follow us on Instagram. This can just say our recent videos. I think that's it. If we save, look back at the browser, update, remember we changed it to 1/3 of the page, so it now looks a little bit different, but that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to bookend this video now because it's been going on for nearly half an hour, probably 25 minutes after the edits. But today what we've done is we've gone through the templates that we've downloaded and we've focused all of our attention on the header element. We've changed the navigation, we've changed the logo, we've removed some of the elements because we haven't got some of the socials. We don't need a search box right now. We don't need a pop-in or anything like that. So we've made the navigation specific for the project as it stands today, and we've tweaked the footer. The only thing we haven't done is we've played around with the images, but that'll be later on in the tutorial when we start adding the YouTube bits and pieces. I might work with an API. I don't even know if there is one. I haven't looked yet. But even so, we're going to end this video here. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been of interest to you. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. It's always helpful. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.